what Donald Trump does is he's reflecting a lot of anger that his base has, that people are frustrated with the system, and they don't even want to fix the system. They just want to burn it down. And he kind of personifies that.
Times website and app is leading on Donald Trump's historic win in the New Hampshire primary. But the thing that has caught our correspondent David Charter's eye and ear is the former president's vitriolic and menacing attack on his rival, Nikki Haley. He called her an imposter, and his fans shouted, "Bird brain." He said the Democrats would come after her.
And just a little note to Nikki, she's not going to win. She's not going to win. But if she did, she would be under investigation by those people in 15 minutes. And I could tell you 5 reasons why already. Not big reasons, a little stuff that she doesn't want to talk about. But she will be under investigation within minutes. And so would Ron have been. But he decided to get out. He decided to get out. Now, Vivek, I don't think would be at all because he's perfect, right?
Let's ask Sarah Elliott, who is from Republicans Overseas and is the senior advisor at the Legatum Institute Special Relationship Unit. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
First of all, what do you think about Donald Trump's attitude towards Nikki Haley?
Well, I mean, this is to be expected of him. He gives every rival a name, and he goes after them personally and gets his base really riled up. But this is also a reason why the majority of the Republican Party actually want a different nominee, even though the polling may suggest otherwise. We had a very divided field up until now, up until New Hampshire. So Nikki Haley did very well last night with the independents and the moderates. She did not do as well with the conservatives. So she did have a good night. She's 10 points, 11 points to Donald Trump, which is the closest of any of her rivals got to, in punching distance of the Donald. And now she'll go to South Carolina, and I think she should on those numbers. But it's going to be an uphill battle for her if she can actually take him out.
What about? I mean, I understand what you're saying, that this is kind of what Donald Trump does. It doesn't really surprise anyone, I suppose, but sometimes it's good to slow down and look at what's happening here. He's saying that she would be investigated by the Democrats for 5 reasons, and I'm not going to say what they are. And the fans, for some reason, have decided to call her bird brain, which I don't know whether that's a misogynistic thing or whether that is to do with something she's got wrong. I don't know. But do you feel comfortable with it?
I mean, it's not edifying. And I don't think anyone of the last 8 years has said that the political landscape has been very appealing to people. And the majority of the country want to move on from Trump and Biden. And I would like to see a much more statesman-like approach. I think most people would. But what Donald Trump does is he's reflecting a lot of anger that his base has, that people are frustrated with the system, and they don't even want to fix the system. They just want to burn it down. And he kind of personifies that, unfortunately, for those of us who want polite political discourse.
And who would that statesman or woman be?
Well, I mean, some people would say Nikki Haley, right? I actually think anybody else in the field that came up would be that person. I think Ron DeSantis is a statesman, for instance. But for whatever reason, they don't know how to deal with Donald Trump. They don't know how to take him on and his base, which is quite intimidating. I think Ron DeSantis should have come out and been much more aggressive against Donald Trump and critical of him, and come out earlier in the race, right after the midterms last year, when Donald Trump was a real weight on the Republican ticket, and he may still be going forward. Nikki Haley's numbers from last night in the New Hampshire primary were great for a general election, not so much for a Republican primary, but Donald Trump is still only polling around 40% approval nationwide. And guess what? So is Joe Biden. They both have really bad approval numbers, and yet they'll most likely be the candidates from both parties.
And if it were to go then to Trump versus Biden, 40% each, who do you think would win?
I mean, that's the big question, right? I mean, recently, the polling has put Trump ahead a little bit beyond the margin of error. So it's plausible that we could have another Trump administration. I think the way the country is going, it feels out of control, particularly at the southern border. And the world is a much less peaceful place than it was when Biden came into office. And his embarrassing withdrawal from Afghanistan still stings us. And I know it stings our allies too, particularly the UK. So I think it's very likely that people could turn to Trump to sort things out again. But I don't. He would only have one more term because he's term limited, and so he doesn't have the pressure of reelection on him. So how would he govern? Would he govern more like a New York liberal, like many of us thought he was in the primary in 2015? Would he be conservative, or would he put his energies to going after his rivals and his opponents who have gone after him
Mm.
with lawfare?
Um,
So it's a big question. And the other big question is who would go to work for Donald Trump, knowing how he calls his rivals bird brain and other names and
mm.
treats former employees. Who would want to put their reputation and their future and their livelihood on the line by working for him?
Just one question, Sarah, because we speak to a lot of Republicans, and we have very much this week, and many of them have said that, with Joe Biden, the world is more dangerous. With Donald Trump, it was safer, and it may be safer again. But I mean, Joe Biden didn't cause the situation in Ukraine. He didn't cause a situation in Israel and Gaza.
Well, you could say indirectly he did by being a weak leader, by looking like someone who should be retired rather than president, to put it nicely. Uh, he's not, he's also, his approach to Iran is quite weaker, you could say, than the Trump administration. And I just think that he just does not epitomize great leadership. And people see that. People are watching him, and
So Hamas and Vladimir Putin look at Joe Biden and think, okay, we'll have a go.
I think I think that in a large case, yes. I think in a large case, yes, because where I think the leader of the free world of the United States with the largest military and best capabilities, they look and go, who is the commander in chief of that country? And will they deploy the mother of all bombs like Trump did? Will they go kill my top general like they did with Soleimani under Trump? The Biden administration won't do any of that. Oh, we'll just sit in the Red Sea and be attacked by drones for several days, weeks before we respond. I think you have to be a strong leader in this world, and Joe Biden does not exude that. And by the way, the majority of the Democrats don't want him to be their nominee, which is also quite ironic. So we'll see if he's actually the nominee by
Mm.
election day. Many Republicans don't even think he will be. But at the special relationship unit at Legatum, we will be looking at all these issues and how they poll and what are most important to Americans.
Okay.
And right now, it's immigration and the economy.
Okay, Sarah, very interesting. Thank you. Sarah Elliott, who is from Republicans Overseas.